We had stated that the two issues had to be understood very well to understand the issue of Qadar. One of them was the pre-eternity of Allah. We analyzed this issue in detail and understood that the knowledge of Allah encompassed all times, the past, the present, and the future at the same moment. Allah knew our all deeds before we did them through His pre-eternity. Now, we will analyze the second of the two issues which must be understood very well, the rule. Knowledge is dependent on the known. When this issue is also understood well, you will see that Qadar, which is regarded as an enigma, is a concept that can be understood very easily and that there are no unanswered questions about it. To be able to understand the issue of Qadar, we must understand the rule. Knowledge is dependent on the known, as well as pre-eternity of Allah. Therefore, we will give 10 examples related to this rule. After these 10 examples, a question like the following will no longer come to your mind. Allah wrote in Qadar that I was going to commit sins. Then, what is my fault? Knowledge is the shape of things in the brain. The thing known is defined as the real state of that thing outside. For example, we will look at the apple. The apple's shape in our mind is knowledge. The shape of the apple outside is the thing known. Does the apple have this shape because I know it in this shape? Or do I know the apple in this shape because the apple has this shape? To put it more clearly, is my knowledge about the apple dependent on the thing known, the shape of the apple? Or is the thing known, the shape of the apple, dependent on my knowledge? In other words, if I had known the apple as a watermelon, would the apple have turned into a watermelon? Definitely not. Because the thing known, which is the shape of the apple, is not dependent on my knowledge. It has not assumed the shape because I know it to be like that. On the contrary, I know the apple with this shape because the apple has this shape. Then knowledge, that is the shape of the apple in my mind, is dependent on the thing known, that is, the real shape of the apple. Suppose that we are on a high hill. There is a curved railway line at the bottom of the hill. You are at the top of the hill, so you can see both the right and the left part of the railway. And you see that there are two trains moving on the same rail from opposite directions. You see that they will crash in 2 minutes, so you wrote, "They are going to crash in 2 minutes," in your notebook. And the trains crashed in 2 minutes. Now, if you say to the engine drivers who survived the crash, "Here is my notebook. I wrote this accident before the accident happened," do the engine drivers have the right to say, "We crashed because of you"? If you had not written this accident in your notebook, we would have not crashed. We crashed because of your writing. You are the cause of this accident. Doubtlessly, they can never say so because you are writing. That is, knowledge is dependent on the accident, that is, the thing known. In other words, you saw that they would crash, so you wrote this writing. Your writing did not cause this accident. You were on the hill, so you saw that they were moving on the same rail, something that they could not see. In addition, your writing only shows the thing known. It does not force, and it is not the cause of the accident. If the accident had happened because of your writing, then this would have happened. You would have written about these trains. They are not going to crash, and they would have not crashed although they were on the same rail coming from opposite directions. if the thing known had been dependent on knowledge instead of the rule. Knowledge is dependent on the known. No accidents would have happened in the world. A man would have written in his notebook, "Today, no accident is going to happen," and he would have prevented the accidents. However, that never happens. Now, we will summarize this example as follows. 1. They did not crash because you're writing. On the contrary, you wrote it because you saw that they would crash. That is, your knowledge and writing is dependent on the known, namely the accident. 2. The second, your writing does not eliminate their responsibility because they caused this writing to be written. Now, we will analyze this rule about Qadar. The knowledge of Allah about what we do and the writing of Allah about it within the book of Qadar board is knowledge. What is this knowledge dependent upon? Doubtlessly, it is dependent on the thing known, namely our deeds and what we will do. That is, Allah knows it because we will do these deeds. We are not forced to do them because Allah knows them. Then we can say this: a person who blames Qadar because of his sins is not aware of two things. 1. He does not know the meaning of pre-eternity and the pre-eternity of Allah. 2. He is unaware of the rule. Knowledge is dependent on the thing known. And when these two issues are understood, all questions about Qadar will be answered. Up to this part of our work, we have tried to explain that the cause of our deeds is not the enforcement, compulsion of Allah and the writing in the book of Qadar. On the contrary, whatever we will do is written in the book of Qadar.